Well, Crown prosecutors will continue to make their final arguments today in the sexual assault trial of 5 former members of Canada's World Junior Hockey team.
CTV National senior correspondent Heather Wright is live again this morning outside the London courthouse with the latest. So, Heather, we've heard from all of the people accused and the lawyers for the accused here. What was the general theme of their closing arguments before we get into the Crown's?
The general theme, Nick, is really one of unreliability and credibility issues of the testimony of the complainant in this case. And they also spoke to all of them that in their minds, this was a consensual sexual act that took place in this hotel room nearly 7 years ago. And that really was the through line through all 5 of the defense lawyers that we heard over the 3 days of their submissions. Essentially, they're saying that the credibility of this complainant cannot be trusted, that they accused her of changing her stories, and they really did say that the night in question here, about 7 years ago, was a consensual night. And so that was the through line. While all 5 of the players have their own defense attorneys, they have their own stories, their own defense in this case, they are being tried together, of course. And so that was the theme that emerged. Obviously, we have started to hear a very different story from the Crown attorney who began her closing submissions yesterday.
And what did we hear from the Crown prosecutors about this case? I know it also centers on the steps about gaining consent.
It centers on consent, of course. That really is what this case hinges on. And she gave us a bit of an outline of where she was going to go with her closing submissions yesterday. And in the first few minutes of her closing submissions, she brought up the text messages and the group chats. And I think this is going to be really central to the story that she weaves over the course of yesterday and today. She brought up text messages that were sent before the incident and after the incident that really go to the narrative that was put forward by the defense. And that narrative is that this was consensual, that the complainant asked for Michael McLeod to invite other players to the room. And she brought up a text message from the complainant to Michael McLeod sent after saying, I was okay going home with you, but it was the other players that I wasn't prepared for. I felt humiliated. I felt unsafe. And so that's going to be, I think, the through line that she tries to weave through her closing submissions, painting this as a non-consensual act, that the complainant in this case was not the sexual aggressor that the defense has made her out to be. And so closing arguments here are going to continue at 10 a.m. this morning.
Okay, and of course, the verdict comes July 24th. CTV National senior correspondent Heather Wright in London. Heather, appreciate this update again. Thank you.